There we go. And I got my little. There we go. We made it. Let's give a couple of just a little bit for more people to join. Whoever's coming, welcome everyone. See some familiar
What's up?
familiar names. How we doing?
Pretty good.
Nice. Just pulling up the
That looks like
agenda.
an absolutely massive glass of water, Anthony.
I was literally just about to go like this. Let
It
me
looks
hide my little bottle of
huge.
water. Like, that's
Yeah, I think my wife
that's
says I got to drink like 3 of these a day and I'm good. So it's like
dude,
32
my
ounces.
Yeah, see, I've got the well, you can't really see it, but I've got a 2 liter bottle of water. But I'm drinking out the glass for the purpose of the call.
You gotta
I've got
play
like
it
a
off.
body armor, half water, half body armor because I get so sick. My wife is it's funny. My wife always tells me like, you need to drink more water. You need to drink more water, and I just like get so tired of drinking water. I'm just like, let me just do like start doing like little increments of like half water, half body armor, then like three quarters water. So I've got my own little incremental water increase here.
If I showed you, what, I'm gonna put myself on blast. I'm gonna show you the water bottle that I use throughout the day. I have this 2 liter monstrosity just sitting by me 24/7. We are not getting dehydrated today.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least nobody's gonna have a dry throat talking on the
Yeah.
on the panel.
And then the half a liter coffee. We can never be missing either. Like it's disgusting. Anyway, sweet guys, thanks for joining. Let's do this. Let me pull up. I have my agenda in front of me. I'm working off 2 devices, so I will be a little bit clumsy at times, so this way I can never lose sight of you guys. Um, to everyone that's joined, welcome. We'll have more people join as the notifications should going out and people start coming on and so on. But thank you guys for joining the webinar. Um, really good topic today. I think anyone that deals with Amazon or deals with Shopify sort of comes at this from two different angles, and Will is just having a spin. You're muted,
May-
you're muted.
Sorry, maybe I still see something different, but my subscribe thing is the wrong way around. I was like, is
Same
there?
for me,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's actually
So
right for you.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
it's
okay.
being yeah, I
But for
think
some
it's
reason,
being
it's
mirrored.
mirrored. My view is mirrored of myself, but nobody else's.
Yeah,
I
got
think
it.
it's because
Okay.
our zooms are mirrored, so we don't look weird when we're looking at ourselves. And then it comes out all correct. But yeah, I mean, anyone that comes at this from Amazon or from Shopify, or in my case from Mercado Libre, we all come at this from different angles because we all think, yeah, of course you want to be on the platform that I'm good at. Um, and we're all right, right? So this is going to be really good to talk about the points. How do we build this harmony? Um, how do we make use of every avenue we can to get consumers, right? And I think we're all coming on with this sort of mentality. Um, we've got 4 speakers today, and I hope I don't catch anyone by surprise. Will, you have an excellent title. Will's coming in. Listen to this. Why you should ditch the vanity metrics and focus on the one that matters. Profit. Jeez. Like that's a banger. Will, do you want to go ahead and walk us through what you mean by that?
As in, do you want to do my? Should I do
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah. I
my
say sorry, but
my
yeah.
talk? Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Uh, do I need to pull up slides? I don't really need to pull up slides. Yeah, I
If you
do
don't
actually.
if you don't pull up slides, I won't pull up slides, and it'll be a more organic conversation. I'm down for that as well.
Um, I don't have to do slides. Who else has got slides? I don't want to
I've
be the
got
only one doing slides.
Yeah, I've got slides that I don't want to use. I always skip through my slides and go, you guys don't want to see this. This is boring. So
Okay, cool. Well, in that case, let's make it more conversational. I'll just
yeah,
talk through the stuff
awesome.
anyway. And if anyone wants to jump in at any point, just yeah, jump in. So
Totally.
I think Anthony's probably agrees with me on this. We don't think conversion rate is that important a metric to be looking at, especially when you're looking at your overall store's conversion rate, because it fluctuates every single day. It's impacted by the traffic you're driving, seasonality, any promotions you're doing, promotions that affiliates might be doing. For sometimes you can't even link it to something. Your conversion rate, just one day it'll go up, one day it goes down. You've got no idea what's going on. So we don't view it as that important a metric, a greater measure of performance, really. So what we, our view is, interestingly, in CRO, we think there's kind of two schools of thought, or generally speaking, there's two schools of thought. You've got, on one side of things, you've got the kind of experimentation Puritans, who are very much it's learnings, it's insights. You shouldn't be tying CRO back or A/B testing back to revenue. It's all about the learnings. CRO is there to guide a business to its objectives through research and experimentation. And then on the other side, you've got kind of what we call the best practice gurus. So the guys who are very much results, conversion rates, revenue, increases from those tests, but that's kind of where it stops, right? It's a lot of best practices. It's a commoditized service. It's very templated. It's all about the numbers, the results of those tests, and then we move on, and we move on to the next test. So they're very, very polar opposite, really. But what we think is that there is that middle ground, and which is an area we're trying to fit, which is where CRO can do both of these things. Right, it's really, really important that we're getting insights from everything we do, whether it's the research or the testing itself. And then you're not just, doing this one little project or one little task, completing it, and then forgetting about it and moving on, and then dealing with something completely different going forwards. So we think tests can be targeted at revenue, and should be, right? We should be trying to generate more money for a website, because that's the whole point, right? If we're not generating money, what we're being paid for. But I think it's really important to realize that, like I was saying, like conversion rate is not really the metric, and even AOV is not that important a metric to focus on, because impacting that will impact other metrics as well. So we kind of view things, CRO, as customer revenue optimization, particularly in the e-commerce space. So for B2B, it works, right? CRO, conversion rate optimization, when all you really want is leads, quotes, demos, that sort of thing, conversion rate matters. For e-commerce, there's so much more going on that affects the actual growth and profitability of a business, right? If we increase your conversion rates but your AOV goes down, you might be worse off. If we increase returns accidentally, you're going to be worse off. So, but it's also important to realize that CRO for e-commerce can also improve your advertising, your email marketing, your customer support, fulfillment, the product itself, right? And so, there's so many other touch points that CRO has with a business outside of conversion rate optimization. So we have our model for it. Most agencies do. Ours is the UAM method, which is usability. How does the website work? Making sure it's super quick, super easy to use, and that people can basically find and buy what they want. We've got anxiety, which is answering questions and concerns, right? So when you're buying a product from a store, you've got questions about the product, you've got concerns about the product, and you've got concerns about buying from that business. So the more of these we can deal with through research, through testing, the better your conversion rate will be, or the better that user experience will be overall. And then we've got motivation, which is really the most important factor, because this is the bit that gets people from, yes, I want to buy this product, to, yes, I want to buy this product now, right? Which is the important thing. It's what we want. It's what gets everyone results. So, the way we look at it is, the kind of what they call the best practice gurus tend to look at things as product views, add to cart, start checkout, complete checkout, probably like upsell, AOV, and revenue. And if you can increase all these metrics, that compounded impact on your revenue is going to be fantastic. But realistically, it doesn't quite work as simply as that, right? If you increase a metric at the start of the funnel, you might see a metric drop further down, like percentage-wise, because if you increase the traffic to a website, that traffic's going to be a bit colder. People aren't going to be as interested, and so your product view rate might go down slightly, or your add to cart rate might go down, right? Just because you're increasing that traffic. So the way we look at it really is, while we want to be looking at conversion rates and AOV, and really when we're testing, we look at revenue per visitor. We also have to consider a lot of other metrics, right? And that's where we think CRO really shows its strength, its power for a business, where we can say, look, we can run tests for you that will increase your conversion rate in a profitable way because we're measuring revenue per visitor. We can increase your AOV, and we'll be tracking that, right? And measuring the tests to make sure we're actually having a positive impact on revenue. But we can also look at, how can we feed our insights into the acquisition team, right? The guys running ads, so that they can do better with the advertising. How can we run better upsell campaigns, put better bundles together, and put them in the right places for the right people, right? And then we're looking at order frequency. Can we improve the email marketing side of the business to get people to buy again, right? And that's in fact, it's not even just the email side of the business, right? It's also if we give people an incredible experience on site, and if we can optimize the unboxing experience, these are things which can impact order frequency. We want to reduce returns, right? Because returns are expensive. I read a stat recently which was for every return, returns cost up to 66% of the value of the order, right? So for every $100 order that you have to return, not only are you giving back that $100, but it's also costing you another up to $66 just to fulfill that return. So if we can reduce returns rate through testing, through optimization, that also has a good good impact on margin for the business, right? And then the last thing we kind of look at is discount costs as well, right? Everyone wants to move away from discounting, but discounting itself is not, I don't think it's that bad. I think people just use it incorrectly, right?
Yep.
The number of emails you've all probably got in your inboxes that say it's just a blanket 15-20% off the website, and that's it. Or it's a flash sale, and then you'll get a flash sale in 2 days' time when the first flash sale is over. These are things which will have a negative impact on the business. But if we can reduce the amount of money you're giving away in discounting by putting the right offer in front of the right people at the right time, that's going to have that benefit to the business as well, because you're actually going to be making more money, right? So we position it as a cost, right? Let's say all those 20% discounts have cost you $100,000 in revenue every month through discounting. If we can reduce that by 15% by just making sure the right people are getting discounts and not everyone, that's a huge amount of money back in the bank account. So that's kind of how we view things, really. I know that was quite I feel like that was a bit of a brain dump actually, but yeah. Generally the view is, zero. It's not just conversion rates. It's how can we make you more money, or how can we save you more money? It's kind of the two most important things we look at, really.
I mean, I think you call that a brain dump. I think that's just someone that really knows their stuff talking through. So that was really nice. I want to try something a little bit different, which is normally traditionally we have Q&A at the end of the webinars. I don't like him. If anyone has questions, please throw them in as we're talking. Will, I'd like to step in with some questions. If we can make this a little bit more conversational, I think it's more interesting for everyone. And I just want to talk about some of the stuff that you brought up, because I think that was really nice. I think this is what really differentiates someone, at least from the way you're speaking about it, from someone that is acting as an agency and as a you versus me mentality, where we're going and I'm like, let me show you all the KPIs that we are tracking. Doesn't really matter if you're making more money on it or not, because my job is to retain you. And someone that's going in and going, all right, well, we're on the same team, and I don't care if the stats change and make me look bad, in quotes, because we're going after the same goal. Right. And I think that's really interesting. And I think it's just such a different mentality that a lot of service providers just don't have. So I'm very much on your boat on this side. My question is a little bit about your approach to this when you're running these sort of experiments, right? Like, listen, we know. I mean, and I think for anyone that has a little bit of a doubt of what Will was talking about, like, listen, if I could get you 1 million clicks for $1, guess what? That conversion rate is going to be 0.00001%. But we got right, but we got at least some sales, and like it would make sense to have them in. So when you're not taking this approach, what other KPIs are you tracking other than obviously profit, which I fully agree? Like, what is going to help you feel like, all right, we're kind of on the right path on this?
I mean, overall business metrics, we kind of look at things like, as I've mentioned, returns, the amount of money spent on discounts, the amount of money lost on like free shipping and things like that. But really, we look at the kind of success metrics for everything we're doing.
Beautiful.
And then the impact that has. So if we're running upsells, if we're doing a specific project focus on how can we increase the number of people taking upsells, we're not going to look at just revenue, AOV, conversion rate for the business. We're going to look at it just for that test. Well, we're also going to look not just for the test. We also look at it on the side, but we're focused on that test because we want to see the impact that test has had. I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking, you're going to come in, you're going to run a few tests, and our overall conversion rate is going to go up 15, 20% really quickly. And thing is, people know how that works, right? Because they know that going into Black Friday or other holidays, their conversion rate goes up. And so they know it's affected by seasonality. And yet they don't understand that when we come in and run tests, we're not necessarily going to get that massive jump, because also if we run a test on the PDP or the cart page, for example, we're only affecting a small amount of the traffic on that website.
Yep.
Right. I know Anthony's going to talk about metrics on fire, which I think is going to be really interesting to hear about. But you might end up with maybe 30-40% of your traffic getting to a product page, right? Which means if you're running a test on the cart page, you're looking at, you might be looking at 3-4% of your traffic that gets there. So if you get a 10% improvement in conversion rate or even 10%, well, yeah, it would be conversion rate for the purpose of this. 10% improvement in conversion rate for them is just not going to be noticeable on the actual on that metric that Shopify puts in front of you, right? So that's why we try not to focus on that too much, and we try and focus on just what are the results that we're driving from the efforts that we're driving and doing. And just to your point about at the start, we've tried a bunch of different models on how this works and what we do, and I think we've finally settled on like how we like to work with clients and how we like to do things. Because the number of times I've been asked, well, your fee is this, how many tests are we going to get a month? And I'm kind of like, I don't really care. If I can run more tests, we'll run more tests if I can make you money. Obviously, we've got margins to take into account. I can't do unlimited testing, but you wouldn't. I mean, how many brands can do unlimited testing, right? It's a tiny fraction. So it's sometimes difficult to have that conversation when you can tell that this person either wants a number of tests, a number of hours, or they want to see that 30% increase in conversion rate.
God, yeah.
And it can be quite difficult to have that conversation and say, I can't give you any of those three, but we will be working for you. We're going to get these, we'll give an indication. So we'll be able to say, we reckon we can do 4 to 6 tests a month. And we'll be working on one of these other projects a month. We'll do research per month, all that sort of stuff. And then we just work on short-term contracts, right? So people get into that kind of, it's less risk involved, right? If after 3 months they decide we haven't actually done anything for them, then they're done. But hopefully they will see the impact that we've made for their business and all the little projects and all the tests that we've done. And that's what keeps people with us.
Beautiful. I mean, yeah, I think we have very aligned mentalities on this. I used to work in an agency for a long time, and sort of like, I don't know, I really like the way you're putting stuff out. Listen, I'm on your team, man, and we're gonna make you more money. And tests also two things people should keep in mind. First of all, if you're on Amazon, look at your search query report and see where you're losing people. And this is exactly the type of thing that these tests are looking at. That's kind of a side note. 2, tests affect tests. if you have too many moving parts, you don't know where things are coming out of, and a lot of people don't want to understand that. We ran this test and we ran this test, and this might interfere with this. We can't run 75 tests in a month. Come on.
Yeah.
Anyway,
most brands just don't have the data for it anyway. So
yeah. We have one comment. I don't think this is a question. Wayne Cloth said, 3 agencies later, not one delivered real results. Without a budget that is actually large to make an impact, it seems like a cat chasing its tail. Wayne, I'm sorry you've had that experience. I'm not sure. I'm sorry you've had that experience. I think this does sound like a matter of finding the people that you most, or the agency that you most vibe with. I think sort of that fit is ultimately what is going to get you the best results. Anyone disagree with that?
I think one of the things that's really important when working with an agency, half of my life exists in expectation management world.
Oh yeah.
Like I think that like if I'm the biggest problem in the agency space, and it's like I'm sure everybody here does great work. We all seem to be very passionate about what we do, and it's like, you know, making sure that you have your clients' expectations managed isn't always the sexiest conversation. I always tell people I don't sell the Lamborghini and the trip to Bora Bora. Like I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on. I'm going to tell you what the likelihood is for this. And if we can align there, then it usually ends up like we have a very, very low churn rate. And it's because number one, we are very I don't say that as a cliche thing. Obviously, we're not selling anything here. Like I'm very selective, but mostly because it's in align with people's expectations, and that's relative to where they are in the business too. So like if like Wayne here has an Amazon brand or a brand that's native to Amazon, which is part of like my I'll go a little deeper on this topic, but it's like if you have a brand that's native to Amazon and you have no pre-existing data, you have no baseline data, you're just looking to make the expansion, and you go to D2C and somebody, which there's no shortage of agencies that'll sell you this, right? That'll say, hey, well, yeah, no, we'll run Facebook ads, we'll get you a ROAS goal. Like they'll start throwing out ROAS numbers and all these targets. And I always tell people, like, if you ever hear that from anybody and you have no baseline data, go the other way, because there's nobody can make that determination, nobody can make that assumption, nobody can make that assessment if you have we don't even know what your click-through rates on the advertising is going to look like. We don't know what your page conversion rate. I agree with everything you said, Will, but at the very least for baseline, we need at least a baseline conversion rate, right? So it's like, how can somebody make that promise to you? And there's no shortage in our world, right? We live in the agency world. There's no shortage of agencies that will make those kind of promises in the name of trying to acquire a customer. So I think that like when you speak with it, and this might just be something for Wayne to look for if he ever works with an agency, it's like, is this agency, number one, giving me a strategy or a roadmap for what I'm going to accomplish? Yes. It's not just, hey, we're going to run Facebook ads and that's the strategy Facebook, right? Because it's about 20% of what we actually rely on is the traffic. The other stuff is what we would call like our ecosystem, stuff that Will does, stuff that Anthony does. It's like the entire machine. And number two, it's like when I'm at a stage where I call it like my bucket one clients, which are like, you've got nothing. Like we've got a placeholder website that's got, it doesn't even have add to cart buttons, or there's not even a checkout process right now, right? You just got something that we call a placeholder in my world, which is like you have a brand that's native to Amazon, and when people go and look you up, you want them to see something. My only standard, literally the only thing I guarantee, is undeniably good work. Period. I'll build you really nice landing pages. We'll do our best to give you really great messaging, great scripting. We're going to give you really great digital assets, really strong digital infrastructure. But outside of that, if you want a revenue goal, if you want a revenue promise or a ROAS promise, which I mean, ROAS is like, to me, ROAS is about as relevant to me in a lot of cases as conversion rate is to you, Will. Yeah. So it's like, it's like, that's where I probably speak for all four of us in this space, by the way. So it's half therapy session, half piece of advice here. Yes. But it's really the truth. Like a lot of people, find that's just something industry wide that I find, whether it's we're working with an Amazon native brand, a retail brand with a strong direct to consumer channel, it's expectation management. So, I know Wayne probably had a pretty crappy experience, but I can tell you that number one, there are a lot of really great agencies out there. And two, one of the ways to really understand who you're working with Are you working with like a sales guy that's just trying to put some cash in his pocket? Or are you working with somebody who's really giving you true expectation management? Like what Will says, it's like, I'm not going to promise you amount of tests just to sell you my services, right? Like this is the way I see it working. And that's usually the way people should hire in the first place. Hire for the expertise, not what you think you want. You don't go to a barber and you tell them maybe what you want, but then you don't tell them to start how to, tell them how to start cutting your hair, right? So anyway, I took a little longer on that one. Clearly, I've had that conversation before.
I think
Also, if we promise 6 tests a month, does that mean if we do 6 tests a month, you're going to stay with us regardless of results? Because that's what you wanted. That's what you're here for. Of course not. You want the results from those individual tests. So if we run 2 tests and get you 2 good winners, that's worth way more than running 20 tests over the next 2 months and well, partly maybe getting no results, but also, as I mentioned when I was talking earlier, not having any insight from it either. At the very least, you've got to have something to show from any test that you run and explain why it worked, why it didn't work, and what should be done next.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think the single as a client, because I think we're all, we've got clients and we are clients for other services. As a client, the nicest thing someone can say to me is, I don't know. We'll see. It's like I don't, we haven't explored this. This is how I think we should do it. I've been doing this for a long time. We'll see what turns out. And if it doesn't work, then we'll change it. You go, yeah, I like that. Like, let's go with that, like don't try to tell me and talk to me in absolutes in a world where there are none, right? Before we move on, because we do have to get another presentation going. Anonymous attendee says, I always find it hard after 4 to 6 months of doing CRO for a client to report so this is what he finds hard, to report how the winners have impacted the revenue. As you would know, this always depends on how much more cold traffic the brand is bringing in and other factors. My issue is just to show the effect on revenue CRO is bringing to the table. Geez, the formatting was a little bit weird. Yeah, I mean, that's totally fair. And I think part of the expertise eventually is how is what I'm doing reflected in the end result, right? But yeah, no, it's absolutely difficult. I like saying that in general, if something goes wrong, it's my fault. If something goes well, I had nothing to do with it. It always feels really crappy. But yeah, all right. I'm scheduled to go on next unless anyone wants to cut ahead of me. Guys, you guys want to cut ahead of me, or should I just get started?
Good to go.
Deafening silence. All right. I'm gonna skip the slides, and thank God, because I would have had to do some moving it from this computer to this computer. I've got my trusty laptop in front of me. I just a little bit of background about myself, so I can color sort of what I'm about to talk about. I got into the e-commerce space as in the agency space by working with brands directly, helping them grow. Did that for 4 or 5 years. And then I got into the expansion game, right? Like the whole idea is getting people into Mexico, Latin America, sort of exploiting this new sort of niche that is really booming. So my expertise or my focus in I think now 7 years in e-commerce has been Amazon first, Mercado Libre second, and building the whole ecosystem third. I'm not a Shopify expert by any means, but I am someone that from Amazon is going, please get on Shopify as well. Please, there are so many things that we can do if we're building this out, right? And recently started getting very heavily because of just sort of the market needs in Mexico into the what I call off platform, because it's not Amazon, the Meta and Google Ads and every other way to get clicks into listings, right? So this is where I'm coming from. And I just want to make that very clear because I may, Shopify is not my strong point, and I'm totally okay with that. But how it fits into an ecosystem is something that I'm profoundly, sort of coming to terms with. One more thing I'll say is when I say Shopify, I could also mean anything else, WooCommerce, anything that you're selling on. Mercado shops in Mexico and Latin America, very strong. We will get into that in a second. But, Shopify means not Amazon and not Mercado Libre, your own e-commerce website, at least when I'm talking. All right. So first of all, and I have it in front of me, it says slide 1. Invisible slide one. All right, let's get some pros and cons going. Let's be realistic. Every single website has their pros and cons. This is why we sell across multiple marketplaces. And this understanding these sort of you have to do to be able to build your full ecosystem, right? So we're all familiar with Amazon, the highest traffic out there, period. Logistics are beautiful. God, I love FBA. Yet they take a huge chunk out of your cash. It's the advertising's more expensive. The 15% referral fee hurts. The FBA fees, oof, they really do a number on you. Not complying with their high service fees gets you, now you don't have a Prime badge. Oh, you want to charge for shipping? Well, now you don't get that added conversion rate. So they sort of force you into playing by their rules. Something else that is really negative about Amazon is that you will straight up lose the buy box if you don't match your pricing with another marketplace. So, hey, you're trying to fix those margins. You can't, or you shouldn't, or they don't want you to. You can get away with it for a little bit, but you'll eventually generally make a little bit less money. Less money per item. Like we said, profit is king. Mercado Libre is consider it a mix of Amazon and a little bit of like eBay because it matters a lot who's selling the product. Now this is the strongest marketplace in Latin America, so it absolutely has to exist. You have variable fee options. So for example, you can do 15% or you can do 19% and get, more visibility, sort of pay for organic ranking with 4% of sales. But you have a lot less customization on your listings and it's like the SEO is a little bit harder to get and sort of move up the rankings with. So it's just it's a trade-off. It's a new environment, and the biggest con here is a lot of external, non-Latin American sellers won't know about it, even though you have to be on. And then Shopify is the holy grail. If you could get Shopify, if you could get traffic and conversion on Shopify like you could on Amazon, you would never need anything else, right? Because you have the full control. You have the emails, you have the reaching out, you have, it's your own, and that's beautiful. And these trade-offs, well, yeah, but you also have to get traffic to it. Now, what does this matter? Because when you're deciding, and at least from an agency, and I think we're all here have spoken about this, you're trying to do what's best for your clients, or as a client, as a seller, you're trying to figure out what's best for you. We tend to focus on what's already working, and I think we all on this call have had experiences in which no, let's just keep doing what we're doing. And you're like, no, hold on, but like there's more opportunity for you if we're also expanding and doing other things. No, let's just keep doing what we're doing because we know what $1 in equates to $1 out, and I just want to stick to that. So right off the bat, I would just want to encourage everyone, try everything, go across the board, and just work with people that you click with, that you work with, that you vibe with, to get all of these up and running. Here's a couple of tips that we can do that you can have. Here's a couple of tips that when you're embarking on this journey, assuming that you know one or none and you're getting into the other two. Listen, you got to keep your pricing consistent. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the call, at the beginning of this conversation, Amazon will straight up take you off the buy box and lower your conversion rate if you're not keeping your pricing consistent. And also, your consumers aren't going to like it. You can't have this variability. I think we very often try to get around these margin issues by going, well, we'll just sell it more expensive on Amazon. Don't try it, sure, but don't. Just don't recommend it. Fulfillment, make sure that you're using every fulfillment option you have. Here, for example, us GoAvance here in Latin America, we use a 3PL to fulfill any marketplace that doesn't have its own fulfillment. And we use fulfillment marketplaces because that's going to give you better conversion rate. So if you're expanding into Mercado Libre, you're expanding into Amazon, or you're launching your own Shopify, just make sure that you're making the best logistical decisions that make sense for you, right? If you're just used to FBA, you say, hey, can we use multi-channel fulfillment? For anyone that doesn't know, multi-channel fulfillment allows you to fulfill your own Shopify orders from Amazon. It's very expensive. It's very expensive and not very scalable, and it's kind of a pain in the butt. Work through a 3PL that you trust. Fulfill your own orders. This is at least my recommendation. MCF, not great. Likewise, if you're expanding into Amazon from the Shopify game, use FBA. Guys, use FBA. It's the most comfortable. There's a reason it's ubiquitous, and it's not only that, that you're kind of forced to use it. It's very comfortable to never have to look at your orders, right? Like, I think we can agree on this. So figure out your inventory solutions. If you use a inventory tracker, or if your warehouse has that software, use that. But make it life simple for yourself. I mean, I think this is something that more and more, as we sell more and more and work with more and more clients, simplicity is so nice, right? Like, you know what? That's a whole other tangent. If you're on Mercado Libre, use Mercado Full. If you're on Amazon, use FBA, and just use your merchant fulfilled for your Shopify. I have a bunch of differences here that I don't want to talk about because I mostly want to give tips on how we're doing this. Traffic generation is really, really difficult. It's really, really different across marketplaces. Mercado Libre, you got to make sure that you're selling through an account that is Mercado Leader, which means it's an account that has shown proven track record, enough monthly sales to start getting those gold, those platinum badges. So Mercado Libre is often hard to get started on. If you can work through someone that has Mercado Libre Leader Gold or Platinum, instantly higher visibility. That's really nice. On Amazon, obviously, you got to get your SEO right. But I think we're finding more and more that the algorithm's changing and conversion rate does become king. It's basically Amazon going, listen, if someone's going to buy this, I'll put it in front of them. And I think, you know, with sort of what the past couple of years have done with technology, we're probably going to keep moving in that way. So, I mean, this sounds kind of silly, but having a product worth selling is step number one. And two, are we communicating the product? What makes me excited about my product to consumers, right? So, and then on Shopify, you got to get your SEO, you got to get your advertising right. And I think like everyone's been saying today, work with someone that is getting you the results that you're looking for in the way that you're looking for them, right? And let me see if we have gotten. Oh my God, we have six messages. All right, we'll pull it up in a second. Is this? Hey, this is Birdman. This is the protein that I take every single day. We'll get to you, Alfredo, in a second. I've been talking for, oh my God, it's already been 10 minutes. I have to shut up now by law. Listen, again, I feel a little bit like Will, a little bit of a brain dump. I kind of regretting not pulling up slides now, but you have, I mean, at least in my opinion, you cannot depend on a single source of sales. Amazon night to morning will go, hey, your product's now restricted, or hey, someone raised an IP violation for no reason, some black hat sort of attacks, and your hero's queue could just be down for a couple of months, right? And if you're not building your off-platform traffic, if you're not expanding robustly in sort of a defensive capacity, and just doing everything you can to make sure that you're not depending on a single platform, you're setting yourself up for a very, very nasty surprise at some point. And why would we be open to that? Yeah, that was very unorganized. Will, I feel exactly. I feel like a kinship right now. Before we chat for a little bit, I'm gonna pull up some of the messages that we got. Alfredo says just got a couple clients like that. They're category leaders in Amazon MX and Melly, but the D2C site is really low in sales. What can we do to attract more clients and convince them of buying D2C? And he links Alfredo. Wonderful that you're working with Birdman. I just bought what's 3.6 kilos of their protein to put in my
About
pantry.
7 pounds.
About 7 pounds. There we go. I got 7 pounds of their protein. It's beautiful. It's delicious. It's vegan. This is not a Birdman sponsored call, but he linked it. I don't know if you guys can see it. Do you guys want to talk about this for a second? mx.birdman.com. He
Yeah, I
says,
mean,
go on,
go ahead, Will.
you go first.
Yeah, I mean, I think so getting into the sup, I mean, I would have to, it'll make a lot more sense to Alfredo when I kind of get my segment, which is should you expand from Amazon to Shopify, and it's going to cover a lot of that. But let's look at the category, right? And I go into the product pretty heavy, but if we look at the category of product, it's a whey protein or a plant-based protein. I'm guessing. I don't know much about that. I've seen it. I've seen that category. I've seen that protein powder. But if we look at the category, more than likely, if you're going to be selling this product D2C, you're probably going to be using paid social more than likely. I don't know. I mean, Google, you're going to be paying a hefty penny for that, which they're probably accustomed to using, because Google, that's not a cheap category to be in, with Amazon as well. But with that being said, you have to look at the product. And the first thing I do is, so my background is in direct response. So I tend to look pretty much entirely at the product at first. And we have to look at, does this product fit a demand creation model, right? Like, can I create demand with a protein powder? And this protein powder might be a great, it might be a great category leader on Amazon, but that's a completely different game when you're playing in when you're playing in the meta space. And the reason why is because on Facebook, or on, I guess on Amazon to start, you're bidding for keywords, whereas on a platform like Meta, you're bidding for attention, right? Like, you have to be able to command attention, and then you have to be able to drive that attention to a place that is built to sell, so to speak, right? It's optimized, right? And that's a forever process. But again, what type of offers are you developing that are going to incentivize a purchase, right? Like, do you have other SKUs? Are you playing, again, we're going to go deep into my presentation, but for this product specifically, it's like, it's a very in the meta space, in as much as it is with Amazon, you have a lower intent consumer in a highly commoditized industry with a product that lacks a really strong, unique selling proposition. So what are you going to do? Like, it's not, a lot of Amazon sellers, Amazon native brands is kind of the term I use these days, but they have this feeling that, like, Facebook and Google, or Meta and Google and TikTok now especially, is like this blue ocean that it's kind of funny, because marketers who have been in this game, like on the D2C side, we're always looking for the Meta of 2012 to 2018, and Amazon native brands are looking for the Amazon from 2012 to 2018, and each one of us probably thinks that the others, but I can tell you it's not, right? Like, Meta is not the Amazon of 2013. The CPMs are high. The CPMs on a new account for Birdman, you're going to be up there, and your CPA is going to be high, and you have to have, again, proper expectation. And so if you're hitting break even on Birdman protein advertising on paid social, you're killing it. That's break even. That's break even. If you're profitable, you're a unicorn. Because I know that I literally invented, random fact, I actually invented the almond protein category. So that was like my first brand that I ever built. I created the almond protein industry I was the first person to ever do it. And I know what the margins on plant-based protein look like. And when I did this in 2013, I did this during the golden era of Facebook. So it was really easy for me to sell. It wasn't that difficult. I didn't even know direct response that well. But I know that even when I got out in 2019, the price for plant-based protein was skyrocketing. So I know your unit economics are brutal for paid social right now. You're probably not operating with greater than 30 to 40% margins, if you're lucky. That's honestly if you're lucky. So there's a lot of reasons why Birdman might not work on D2C.
I mean, Alfredo, could you tell us if you're working on their D2C for Mexico or for the US? Like,
that's a
let's
great
see
question, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna to chip in quickly. My two thoughts are: firstly, Amazon buyers will always be Amazon buyers.
Yes.
I buy protein off Amazon. I will go to the other websites, like I will check bulk, my protein, a couple of other websites, but most of the time it's cheaper on Amazon anyway. And plus, I get free next day delivery, so it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
The other thought is, it's not as simple as I'm going to make it sound, but kind of use Amazon as the acquisition channel, and have different products on your D2C website. So give people a reason to come to your website, which isn't just oh, I'd prefer to buy direct from the brand, because there's a tiny amount of people who are going to do that and suffer
Yes.
the, the inconvenience of a longer shipping, possibly paying for shipping, possibly a higher price, because it's surprising how many websites are more expensive than the product on Amazon. But
Yep.
yeah, just give people an actual different reason to shop, where they can only buy certain things if they come to your shop directly. And then you've just got to work on AOV, free shipping thresholds, and things like that to make sure that's going to work for you.
Oh my God, I love that so much. Let me give you some context for Mexico. I'm in Mexico, by the way. Ramiro, that's a very Mexican name. Um, Old man name, by the way, if anyone's wondering. Um, Here's what I'll tell you. I have absolutely, as a regular Birdman consumer, I have absolutely no reason, like Will is saying, to buy from your website. And I think, and like, listen, that setting of expectations has to exist, which is we're already number one plant-based protein in the country. Probably, I'm not even sure if it's the number one protein in the country, period. Like, Birdman is massive here. You know what? The only reason I have ever not bought it from Amazon is because it was on sale at Costco or because it was on sale at GNC, and I was walking by, and the only thing faster than next day delivery is I took it home with me because it was at a brick and mortar shop, right? So there's literally no reason. I mean, two things. One of all, the expectation setting has to be, listen, we're probably going to be cannibalizing your other sales. Like, you're at a point where anything, like, people that are buying from the website is because they didn't feel like buying at Costco or they didn't feel like buying at Amazon. But guess what? That's good, because if we're cannibalizing it, we didn't pay 15% to Amazon. All right, let's play around that, and let's make sure we're setting the expectations that, like, you are, like you said, market leader. Is this your best customer acquisition tool? Probably not. You already have, like, the lifestyle marketing already, like, tip top shape. You have everything going. This has to be a strategic decision to move these consumers from other platforms to your e-commerce, right? Hey, even Alfredo, like, look, he said, same here. I always buy Birdman from Mercado Libre. Like, this is exactly the thing, and I think this is something that client expectation management is number one thing, and number two thing, understanding sort of where the product is in the ecosystem, and going, how do we make it? How do we incentivize consumers? How do we make it better for them to buy from the website? Right?
Yeah,
Like,
offers.
yeah.
We use offers a lot. Offers have been like a really like pivotal part. So when we started the agency, our clientele was, our portfolio was literally all of pretty much Amazon native brands. We moved into more consumer brands with that were like, we ended up moving to consumer brands that had Amazon channels that were looking to strengthen their D2C, not Amazon native brands that were looking to go to D2C. So there's a big difference between those two.
Oh yeah.
But one of our clients, I think he's probably still the largest seller of dash cameras on Amazon. But he had a pretty strong, not strong, but he had decent baseline data to perform on D2C. And we've scaled him up pretty well. And we've done that predominantly through the use of offers. So, like, for example, if he goes on
Beautiful.
Amazon, you can only buy the dash camera, right? But if you buy through D2C, when you buy through D2C, all of our advertising, our acquisition strategy is they get a free SD card, right? 256, and they can't get that on Amazon. So they can only get it buying through the D2C channel. So like, offers have been a really, really great little nugget that we've been using for years. Free gift with purchases, free shipping, like this. Obviously you have to give free shipping because you're competing against Prime. So but offers have like just really good offers, and like I said, free gifts with purchase. That's like if anybody wants to take a little nugget out of this, that is like our secret sauce. We use free, I'll give free everything with purchase. It's like our
Let's
one trick
go.
pony. Like, we need to increase sales, give a free gift. But figure out what it is. You have a slow moving SKU, give a free gift. Like that we literally use those things to exhaustion, and they work. They're just tried and true. It's great. And if you look at like direct response, it doesn't change. Like, it's been like that since I've seen on TV. You're not just going to get one, you're going to get two.
Let's
You're not just going to
go.
get this, you're going to get this for free. So offers have been a really good little nugget. So, like, so if you're selling Birdman, right, maybe you don't have a discount, maybe it's not a price match, but maybe you're giving, like when we did ours, so our first client was a brand name, Organic Muscles, like literally the client we started the agency with 5 years ago. And they sell an organic pre-workout. They're still Amazon native. They're a great brand, but D2C was really struggling. So what we did was when I left my brand, I had left literally in the warehouse. We had 500 like tornado bottles. Like I don't know if you guys ever seen this. We press the button and the little plastic thing spins and it makes like a tornado inside the bottle. I had a bunch of them because they weren't strong enough to mix the protein, but they were definitely strong enough to mix this pre-workout. And you could put a value on them for $20. Like they're $20 all day. And it's not like a shaker one. It looks really cool and it looks really great graphically. We turned it into a really cool gift, right? On the direct to consumer acquisition page that we were running. And we gave that as a free gift. So now it increases the perceived value of the offer because it's a $20 product. So what's now a $30 price point for a $50 offer really only costs you $3 on the cost of goods of the tornado bottle. And you can't get that offer on Amazon. And it's a damn cool free premium. So we would literally see on the ads, like in the comment section, it would say, I bought this for the tornado bottle. I hope the pre-workout is good. Right. Oof. And that's how we actually 10x that conversion rate is like the big metric, but he had a 0.4 conversion rate on his one little acquisition funnel that he was running. It was just a PDP. And we built an acquisition page. This is back when like segmented acquisition pages were a lot bigger than they are now. Now you got to kind of like keep them together, especially with attribution being the way it is. But we took that to a 4% conversion rate, right? And it was just literally adding that and making. Obviously, we made the page a lot nicer, and had to add some direct response. But anyway, the point is like a great free gift with offer, and it's really great when you have like a SKU that doesn't move much, that has a low cost of goods but a high perceived value. It's $30 on your website, but it doesn't sell anyway, and it only costs you $5 to make. Dude, that's a free gift to purchase all day.
Yes.
All day.
And before we move on, because we do have to get going, Alfredo, you start giving me a shaker because I know you got shakers. I know you got Birdman shakers. You offer me a shaker with my next purchase, I'll purchase from the website. Like that's actually, you don't buy from the website. Like that's, I think what would make you buy from the website, right? Like that's it.
There's a brand over here called Space Goods, which do like a mushroom tea or mushroom coffee. And yeah, I basically reactivated my subscription because they gave me a mug, one of those little mixer, the little whisk things, like mini whisks that you stick in there.
Oh yeah, frother.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one,
dude.
And like a container to put the stuff, the actual powder in from the pouches. I was like, you're gonna give me all this stuff? Of course I'm gonna subscribe again.
Yeah, dude. When I had my brand, we launched an instant latte product. The product was terrible. I got a ton of returns on it, but I had a badass offer. Like the offer killed it, and this is 2014, and I did a free frother with purchase, and people said the same thing. I got it for the frother. I hope, because the frother is $15. I always say the best free gifts are the ones that everybody wants, but nobody wants to buy. Like everybody wants a frother, but nobody wants to spend $15 on a frother. I'm not going to spend $50, but I would love one if it came with the product.
So something I've mentioned on so many podcasts and webinars, like a free gift with a subscription. So it came in like the third box, and it was a brand called Gusto. So a bit like HelloFresh and Blue Apron, I think, in the States. Literally sent me like a wooden cooking spoon, like one of the spoons you use to cook with. And it's slightly nicer than the other ones I've got. So it's like my favorite cooking spoon now. And I talk about it all the time because it was like, it's such a good free gift that I'm going to use for so long. I'm going to talk about as I have. And also it's got their brand in front of me every time I use it. It's so much better than like a little packet of sweets or something that some brands do.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh my God. So much sauce being dropped on this webinar. This is beautiful. Guys, we got to move on. We've got half an hour to get through two of you guys. Let me pull up who's meant to go up next, unless anyone wants to bite the bullet. Totally close to everything. I'm just having so much fun with you guys that I close my agenda close to everything. Anthony, do you want to go next?
Yeah. I'll do it. And I'm
Awesome.
contemplating, should I just show my slides? But then I'm like, you guys didn't do it.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
I'll try to do it without the slides. And hopefully you guys can visualize what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Think about all the people that are listening to us instead of watching us.
Right. I'm sure there's many people multitasking right now.
Yeah.
We're not even on their window, so the slides are useless. But ultimately, what I want to talk about here is really what I see all the time in talking with e-commerce brands, whether they were Amazon first or they are truly just Shopify D2C. The biggest issue that we see is there's this divide. And so they understand how their marketing channels are performing, right? They understand that data. They understand what those are spewing out in terms of attribution, how false oftentimes those are with their claims and what they're attributing to themselves. They're seeing that rising CAC, which many are still experiencing that. And then they see their Shopify reporting data, right? Seems to cover everything. There's this nice, pretty dashboard, but does it really tell you that much? And ultimately, that's what the funnel looks like. It's like, here's our marketing. Then on-site is just lumped into users that get to a purchase. Sure, you can look at Shopify's little conversion rate funnel that'll show you how many users add to cart, how many check out, how many purchase. Doesn't really tell you a whole lot. And so there's this divide. There's this gap where brands really don't know where they're struggling in their funnel. They really don't know what is ultimately causing users to drop off, where that's happening. And so they find themselves just pulling levers if they're, ultimately on their marketing channels, or if they're looking on site, they're kind of just randomly guessing. They're kind of flying blind, especially with the transition to Google Analytics 4. GA4 has been a massive struggle for most brands. And so they're just guessing. And what I want to give today is really 3 simple steps to identifying where your store's hidden conversion problems are. With these, you're probably not going to find the hidden conversion problems unless you've got some UI or UX issues or some bugs, but you'll at least know, okay, this is where we need to focus efforts if we really want to improve efficiency, if we really want to improve profitability, maximize our marketing efforts, reduce wasted spend. And so these are really the 3 simple steps: measure, focus, and prioritize. And so we would look at measure. Will's touched on this before, but our conversion rate is a vanity metric, right? So many times I hear brands like, oh yeah, we've got a 2.2, conversion rate. We're doing great. But it doesn't really tell you a whole lot, right? Because you'll see trends. You see those Q4, that seasonality bump where conversion rate absolutely goes through the roof. You'll see these odd trends where all of a sudden conversion rate's down 30% because of traffic quality. You've now introduced more, let's say, paid social, which is converting less than your average user. Therefore, your conversion rate's going to go down. So there's too many variables to really use conversion rate as a way to measure how your on-site experience is performing. And so that's where we utilize what we call the inter-site funnel. With the inter-site funnel, ultimately what that does is it breaks your conversion rate up into the 4 key behaviors that lead to a conversion. So the first thing is user lands on the site. How many of those users are viewing a product, right? So we often frame that as product discovery. The second thing is those users that do view a product, how many of those are adding to cart? The users that add to cart, how many of those are beginning checkout? The users that begin checkout, how many of those purchase? So it's really similar to that product journey report that you see in Google Analytics 4 or even partially in Shopify. But that doesn't quite tell you the full picture because that's a closed funnel. And so it's looking at all users. Whereas what we like to do is measure each of these steps independently. So we're only looking at the users that view a product. We're only looking at the users that add to cart. How many of those are completing the action that we're looking for? And so that's ultimately what the intra-site funnel is. And one of the things that we like to do with this to really help focus efforts, because that's ultimately the goal here, is we benchmark this against some target baselines. And so across each of these 4 metrics, we have a target range that we're trying to hit. So for instance, which this is the biggest issue that we see brands struggle with, is landing to product view. Landing to product view, we're trying to get 50 to 70% of users that land on the site to view a product. In particular, when you're looking at like your homepage, those users that land on the homepage or land on a collection page, making sure that we're getting at least 50% of those users advancing down the funnel. Because a lot of brands will drive traffic to product pages. They'll go look at their product journey report and they'll see, oh, 80% of our traffic is getting to a product. We're doing great there. But when you uncover that a little bit more and you look at homepage or collection page as the landing page, they'll be severely underperforming. And so those users that land on, from an ad, they don't convert that first time. They come back to the homepage. They come direct back to the homepage, and they can't find the product they were looking for before, or they can't find the landing page. It's a custom landing page that they were at before, and so they're kind of lost. I mean, we see that all the time where homepage will only be driving like 25% of users to product pages. And that's a very common issue that we see for brands, because a lot of the effort in terms of conversion optimization gets focused further down the funnel, which in some cases, that's not the metric on Fire. That's not where you should be focusing in the inter-site funnel. And so this benchmarking allows you to kind of understand, okay, how are we performing? Where should we focus efforts? It's not meant by any means to give yourself a pat on the back, or to do anything else than really focus efforts, right? And so that's the second step there, is using that inter-site funnel to focus efforts. And so when you're looking at your store against those target baselines, let's say landing to product view is where we're struggling, then that's where you're going to focus your efforts. And the third step here, prioritizing, is what's going to allow you to kind of understand underneath that particular metric, landing to product view, for instance, what is going on? How are users behaving? Where are users coming from? How does that influence behavior? And so that's where we segment to gather context. And we're really trying to use quantitative data to really point us, to give us direction. And so this context is super key to understanding your intra-site funnel. And so I kind of believe that on a single data point on its own is pretty useless. It doesn't tell you a whole lot. You need the context of other data points to tell you the full picture. And so if we're just looking at landing the product view on its own without the context of other data points, it doesn't tell us a whole lot, because you could have a really high landing to product view because you're driving a lot of traffic to the product page, like I mentioned before. But then when we go in and segment landing to product view, when we look at device category, so like mobile versus desktop, or we look at the channel that the user came from, paid versus, paid social versus paid search, or email versus organic or direct, and you can understand, okay, this is where the users are coming from, here's where they're landing, here's where they're underperforming. You can look at landing page, right? So homepage landing page, blog landing page, pages landing page when you're looking at like a Shopify structure. You can also look at new versus returning users, the country, if you are in multiple countries, to really gather context around this particular metric. And that'll help you prioritize where you should focus your efforts, right? This context will help you start to identify what is causing the problems, right? Because now you know, okay, our metric on Fire is landing the product view. This is where we need to focus efforts. And then your next step is to really figure out what are those problems that are causing that fire. If it's our homepage where we've got, let's say 30% of users are landing on the homepage, but only 25% of those are advancing to a product page, what is causing that? Is it the navigation? Is there opportunity within the navigation to improve that, right? Is it reordering the navigation? Is it making the navigation more directly linked to product pages? Are users getting from the homepage to a collection page and dropping off there? Is it the homepage hero? Does that not answer really the three questions to help orient the user? Where am I at? What can I do here? Why should I do it? Or is it, below that fold, do you have clear like shopping options, categories, featured categories, or featured products that are driving users down the funnel? Some of those key elements that are important to product discovery. Or if you have a large catalog, do you have search? Is search highly visible? And so those are all important things now that you have the context of, okay, here's where my issue is. This is where I need to focus efforts. Now I can go in and really try to understand what are the underlying problems. And so that is the intra-site funnel, how you identify metrics on Fire, how you identify where your hidden conversion problems are. Now, there's a whole slew of other things to really figure out what are causing that metric on fire, what are those problems. But this is a basic kind of component to CRO that we see the vast majority of brands don't have visibility on. They aren't doing, and so it creates this divide, right? And it really shortens the funnel and misses a massive, like, where the vast majority of the funnel actually is. And so it's a super important component, especially if you're looking from, trying to expand beyond Amazon and improve your Shopify store, the performance of your e-commerce store. Understanding how users are navigating your site with the intra-site funnel is super pivotal to that. So I hope you're able to understand that, even though you don't have the visual elements.
No, Anthony, I think this is fantastic. I mean, I really enjoyed listening to you because you're talking about something that is quite new to Amazon, right? And again, like, I'm going to reiterate, I come from the other side of the fence. I'm an Amazon guy. On Amazon, about a year ago, we got access to what's called a search query performance report. And it's literally on a per keyword basis. Where are you losing people on the funnel? It's like, hey, someone typed this keyword, like garlic crusher, the typical. You were this percentage of the impressions. All right, so maybe my traffic needs my ranking is a problem. The page got this many clicks, and you actually got less clicks than you would have expected, but for your percentage of the impressions. Okay, then my main image or my title I got to work on. Actually, you got more clicks, but then less people added to cart. Okay, right? So maybe my listing needs work, because at every step, like, I use the wrong words all the time. I consider each step between them like a different conversion. And it's like, all right, we didn't convert in this bit. What are we doing? How are we understanding the numbers? What does this tell us about our listing? And that's exactly what we're talking about. I think that's so underutilized for anyone that's coming into this webinar from the Amazon side of things.
Yep.
Understand where people are dropping off.
Yeah, no, that's the same concept right there. It's like, you could look at that, and if it was only giving you, impressions to the users that actually purchased, converted, you could go try to solve your listing where the issue is actually not the listing. You go try to solve your page, your actual, and neglect your listing where that's not getting the clicks. That's where you need to focus your efforts. And so that's a very similar way to kind of approach Amazon as the intra-site funnel.
Yeah, and on Amazon, you even have the thing, because it's by keyword, they'll tell you, hey, on this keyword, you perform better than your competition. I guess we're a better market fit for this specific keyword. Let's drive traffic to it.
Right.
Okay, let's pump ads into it. Let's put in our title. It's like, what are we doing to take advantage of these numbers that were so nicely being given and no one's looking at? Because no one likes looking at tables, except for people that have these kind of webinars. Guys, before we move on, does anyone wanna jump in? We have no open questions. Now you know how I feel, Anthony. Deafening silence serves you right.
Well, I hope I covered everything thorough enough that there was no questions as a result. Right?
I think you absolutely. I think that was it. I think it was just so thorough. Caulen, do you want to close us out? Do you want to? We're bringing in the closer.
The closer. Oh my God, it's a little bit of pressure there now. Yeah. So, yeah, I'll go ahead and start. So basically, title of my number is "Should You Expand from Amazon to Shopify?" So, like I said, a little context. Started my age. I had a brand for 8 years, roughly, actually about 7. And it created that category of protein, the almond protein powder. Found out how to do that, and that's kind of how I got my wings, just getting started in the direct to consumer e-commerce space. So we did it entirely on direct to consumer during the golden years, which is why I wasn't interested in Amazon at the time. I sure as hell wish I would have been, because things would probably be I probably would be on this right now. I probably would have gotten a little bit further along, because things changed very quickly in the D2C landscape. Anyway, I started my agency, and that one client that I had that kind of was like start off as a consulting thing, and then I brought my business partner, who was a co-founder, who had exited his agency, and we're like, hey, let's start an agency. And he said, hey, we have to serve a very specific audience. And that client that we first had was an Amazon native brand. And we came up with this idea. This is, mind you, 2020, end of 2019. So we're a little early for this, but it's been paying off now. But we're going to help Amazon native brands, 7 and 8 figure Amazon native brands, expand to D2C. That was our selling proposition. That's what we went to market with. I went into all the Amazon events, Prosper, ASGTG. I've been to all of them, right? Heavy. Spoke on a couple topics, and and then my functional role, and that's where I'll get into my talking at the agency outside of co-founder, became director of brand or product selection, right? So my functional role was to basically take a look at all the leads that started coming in and all the brands that started getting interest, because there was a high level of interest because there wasn't really anybody doing that specific thing, right? And determine which ones had the best chance for success, right? Which ones would have the best chance to make the expansion successful, so that way our team wouldn't have a headache and we wouldn't lose clients left and right and have to be on this hamster wheel of trying to grow the agency. So that's how I came into this position. So I speak with someone who's probably looked easily at over 300 to 400 products in the last probably 4 years. I've seen a lot. I've seen everything: adult baby diapers, adult toys, you name it. I've seen it. Nothing surprises me anymore. So I realized over this time period that the question that I found 9 times out of 10, because 9 times out of 10, I tell the person that I'm speaking to, this is not a good fit, right? It's just not a good fit for making the expansion. 90% of the time is the case. And that's a pretty true number. So for me, the question really became not so much how do I make the expansion, but should you make the expansion in the first place? Like, does that even make sense for you? And that was like something that I found was really helpful when it came to like giving presentations on the topic, because there's no shortage of information on like how to do it. And there's all different types of strategies, but a lot of these strategies, they don't work if the product isn't a good fit, if the infrastructure isn't a good fit, if the expectations of the person who's going to make this expansion isn't a good fit. So that's the context under which I'm speaking on. And I'll try and cram everything. I just want to give somebody a context into like why this topic is titled the way it is. So with that being said, the first thing that I always look at, like I said before, is the product, right? So my background is in direct response. So I'm always trying to sell things. Like I always want to sell things to people, and I always want to sell it right now, because that's the way I've been trained. But the fundamental basis of direct response is just tapping into user desire, human desire. You can't create it, you can't destroy it. It's like energy, you can only tap into it. So essentially, what I first look at in the product, is there an inherent ability to tap into user desire with a new mechanism, a new approach, what we would all call as marketers a unique selling proposition, right? So if you're selling spatulas on Amazon and you're looking to go and sell it on, notwithstanding AOV and any of the other stuff that all of our heads would probably go to, right? Non-consumable, all that. You're probably not selling a product that's going to compete very well, because again, like I said, on Amazon, you're competing for keywords. You're not competing for attention like you are on a D2C channel or a D2C traffic driver, like probably paid Meta or TikTok or something like that. So it has to have an inherently attractive attribute to the product. It's the first, it's the best, it's the newest. Like dash cameras is, our proposition is America's most trusted and reliable dash camera. We had to give it some sort of selling proposition. That's a little bit of a area of gray where you can do that, because that is it does have it, even though it's a commodity, there's a lot of competition. It does have a unique selling proposition to it in terms of features, benefits, all that other stuff. So number one is, does the actual product lend itself to a demand creation marketing model, right? Like you had no intention of buying this when you opened, so therefore, can I do that? And do I have the selling propositions and the features and benefits, all that cool stuff that I need to do as a marketer to actually get you to want to buy that, right? So that's number one. Number two, we go into unit economics. How are the margins, right? Like if you're coming to me with a product that's got $20 margins and it's a non-consumable, you might as well just take that money and start throwing it in the toilet, because that's where it's going to end up anyway. And it actually will probably cost you less flushing it down the toilet, because you're not going to have to ship the inventory. So, number one is, unit economics. What does the margin look like? Is it a consumable? If it's a consumable, again, margins. What is our payback period? What is our 60? And then we have to understand. I'll get into expectation management in a second, but then we have to understand what our 30-day window is, 60-day window, 90-day. I don't think most brands in this day and age care about a 365 LTV right now because they can't afford to, hold up those costs over long-term periods. So, what's the unique, what is the unique attribute? What do the margins look like? Is it a consumable or a non-consumable? The next thing I look at is the ability to create offers. Do you have other products? Do you have a horizontal product line that I can take products and add to your existing product, your hero product, if you even assuming your hero product, because a lot of Amazon brands sell multiple products and they think their hero on Amazon is their hero on D2C, and that's actually not the case. We found it to be multiple times that it's actually not the best product to sell. But let's say your hero product that you want to go to market with, do you have additional products to add to that product to have an offer? And do those offers have, or do those products have good margins so we can include them in an offer? Right? Because I can't include a free gift with purchase if your cost of goods is extremely high and the value of the product is extremely high. It just doesn't make sense. So again, we're looking at multiple things. So it's like when I'm doing a when I'm doing a brand analysis, those are like initially we've got unique selling proposition, margin, the ability to create offers. Is it a consumable or a non-consumable? And then and these are all surface level. There's a couple other things I look at, but obviously we're running low on time. The next thing outside of the product, and those are probably the most important things product wise, right? That I look at. The next thing is really what we talked about earlier is expectation management, right? Like it sounds very like agency ownerish to say, but it's honestly like, I always tell people my job when I'm telling you that this may or may not be a good fit. It's not to say you have a good product or a bad product. I'm just helping you to mitigate risk. Like your risk to make this expansion, theoretically, you could do it. Theoretically, you could drive traffic to your spatulas and you could sell them and they could be profitable. I mean, the chances of it, you might as well go play the lotto if it worked. But the chances of it working are probably very slim, but theoretically you could. But is that really mitigating your risk in terms of time, money, effort, energy as a business owner when you have multiple other things you could be deploying that capital and energy towards? So for me, it really goes heavy into expectation management. I classify brands into 3 buckets. One is Amazon native, zero data. I have no idea how this is going to perform. It's a startup. It's a startup on D2C. I don't care if you're a multi-million-dollar brand. I don't care if you're an 8-figure brand on Amazon. That means nothing in the D2C world. It really genuinely means nothing. You'll get some spillover sales. You'll make 10, 20K a month, but for what Amazon sellers or Amazon native brands want, that's not going to cut it for them. So you have an Amazon brand, Amazon native, zero sales, zero data. Then you have Amazon brand or Amazon native brand, some data, right? So basically they've done that would be like my dash camera client. He's a good example. 20K a month, very consistent, healthy conversion rate on the site, healthy AOV, healthy metrics, right? Baseline metrics for me to go in and say, we can do some amplification here and start to tinker with this machine. The other one is like, I have no idea what the hell's going to happen. So that's my standard. I'll give you good work. I'll build you great pages. I'll give you great offers. I'll write great copy. Our team will do great work, but I don't know what the hell's going to happen after that, right? And if somebody can agree to that, then you're kind of going into it understanding this is like probably going to be the better part of a $50,000, $60,000 test. You want to take that test? It's entirely up to you. If you don't, that's fine. I'm telling you the truth, right? You're testing 50, 60K for a quarter, maybe a little longer, between ad spend, agency fees, advertising creative. You're going to spend the better part of between 50 to 70K. Is that something you want to do? And it usually doesn't always go the way that you're going to close a deal from an agency perspective, but I guarantee you the ones that stay never have a problem with, because that's where you set the bar. And if more people did that, they would understand that they probably shouldn't make that expansion, because then they get hit with 7. They're like, man, I hear it all the time. Oh, I spent 70 grand. I had nothing to show for it. Well, number one, all you did was buy air from Mark Zuckerberg. You didn't build any infrastructure. You didn't have anybody tell you to help you with offers or even build you a welcome series, for God's sakes, for your email. It's like just, again, the baseline is I'm going to give you the infrastructure to test it. That's the best I can do, and it's going to look good. So number 2 is some data, some proof of viable product market fit on D2C, right? And that's always a good spot to be in, because you have something, And then number 3 is usually consumer brand, baseline data on our success on Amazon, looking to go to D2C, right? That means I'm a pretty well-known supplement brand in retail, consumer brand facing, like people know my brand. My first venture into like high level e-commerce was Amazon, and now I want to go D2C. That's a very consistent client. That's like probably our core client, because they're the ones most qualified, by the way. Like, because they have brand equity, they already have proof of concept, they're selling on D2C. We have the ability to create offers because they usually have multiple products in their lineup. So you have those real three buckets that you fall in, and each one of those needs different expectation. The first one is, hey, none of us know what's going to happen. Be ready to buckle up for a $50,000 to $70,000 bank account hit. That's it. That's the standard. And anybody on this call should expect that standard. If they have doesn't mean it goes bad, by the way. I've had that conversation, and I genuinely thought that the brand probably wasn't going to do that great, but the business owner, I mean, the very high level 8-figure brand, and they were like, yeah, we're cool with that. And they're actually one of our best performing clients, and they leave us alone on top of it, because again, the undeniably good standard applies in that instance. But anybody who's looking and has no data on D2C, take it from, I'm sure every single one on this call would agree, your metric for success is, does this, even work? Period. And you can test and you can create offers and do what all of us would probably do to make the performance better. But I guarantee you, Anthony myself will tell you, if that's the standard that I'm coming into this relationship with, don't ask me for a guarantee on success, because I can't give it to you. Doesn't exist. And number two, the metric, the second bucket, the metric would be, there's a very high likelihood that we can amplify this, and then preparing them for what is needed. So we have like what we call a playground, where we can like pull up, like if we're analyzing what the performance on paid social will be, here's what your click-through rate's going to be, here's what your AOV is, here's what your conversion rate looks like, what implication does that have on a final number? And we can those metrics change. My business partner built it, and they just change based on what those numbers be, because then it's undeniable. This is what our KPIs are, this is where we need to be, we're going to do our best to get you there, and that's what we got. And we're going to, again, undeniably good work. And then the third is the third bucket, where they're probably pulling in 70 to 100K. That's what I call an efficiency play. That's where we've always shined very well, because we're less about, and Will and Anthony are in this space for sure, where it's like, it's not really about driving more traffic. It's necessarily about driving more traffic. It's just about making more efficient use of the traffic you're already driving, because a business of that size is probably, they have a pretty high degree and high level of product or offer market fit, right? Because they can be, sometimes a product itself might not sell by itself, but a product with a great offer will sell by itself. So once we've established that, now we can start looking at some of the stuff like Anthony was saying, metrics on fire. Like, how are you breaking down your funnel? It was such a great point. I should ask him, a little bit more about like how he was driving traffic to product pages versus driving traffic to home pages. That's a really great point, because we discovered that the hard way, because we were always going to segmented acquisition pages, and we're like, shit, this isn't working anymore. Like, why is this not working? And then we started driving to the shop page, and we started noticing, well, damn, that's kind of crazy. They don't want to go to the product page like we think they do. They just want to shop around, and then they want to be able to find the landing page that we had, because we would hide it from the page thinking from a direct response standpoint. Like, we only want them to see this offer when they click, so that when they come back, that's the only way to get it. So at that point, with a third bucket, your metric for success is you do have to really, the pressure is higher, but our areas of expertise tend to lend ourselves to a greater chance for success, because that's when us three probably are all really needed, right? Like, you really need to make more efficient use of the traffic. Whereas bucket one is like, I don't have traffic. I don't even got a website. I don't even got a welcome series. My pop-up is converting at 1.5%, like, those are basically the key things. So product, consumable, non-consumable, unit economics, all that great stuff, but then really understanding what your metric for success should look like based on where you're at in the expansion. So fire hose to the face. I'm sure everybody feels the same way. I feel like I just dumped a truckload on everybody, but yeah.
Oh, I feel so good that we all felt the same after we spoke. But I'll tell you, like, as the spectator, y'all three crushed it. That was beautiful. And Caulen, honestly, that was really, really good. I think that's so much knowledge. That if I can say, I feel like the general vibe here is we've all had our fair share of frustrations.
Yeah,
for
sure.
Right, like when you get to a point where you're going, hey man, listen, my service doesn't work for you. Like, yeah. I think that comes out of a spot of having enough people just try to force it. right? Or having, like you said, the spatulas, garlic crushers, like commoditized products. My God, like we're not, what are we gonna put on TikTok? What are you talking about? Right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Your AOV is $8 and your
Yeah.
CPA is going to be 40. Like it's not 40 if you're lucky. 40
Yeah.
if you're lucky. Yeah, yeah. That's why I said unit economics, but it's like half panel, half for me it was like half panel, half therapy session, right? Because
Oh,
you
so
have
good.
to like you have to kind of like tell people these things, and unfortunately in our world, not enough people tell potential clients these things because we are in a self and
Yes.
unfortunately in a very sell first culture, like sell the dream, sell the dream, sell the dream. And it's
Yes.
like when you want to do great work and when you want to like have a great agency that has a great reputation, like I'm sure it sounds the way these guys talk, like probably I've had people leave brain power, but I've never had somebody leave and say I've never had a situation where I've got like a Wayne being like, hey man, these guys are snake oils. No offense to
Yeah.
Wayne, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Nobody has ever left and been like brain
Yeah.
power. I'm sure Anthony and Will can relate. So it's
Yeah.
important that we say these things, so people know that there are one, good agencies, and two, people that like
Yeah.
two, the agency owners that care.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, this is literally it, right? Like people that care. Come
Yeah.
on, like because we all pay the price for the snake oil salesman. Anyway, guys,
Yep.
that was wonderful. I really thoroughly enjoyed this, like to the point that the future webinars, at least like future webinars hosted by GoAvance, are definitely going to turn into more of a roundtable discussion because this I had a really good time hanging out with you guys. So on top of all the
Same.
value that everyone dropped, obviously, like I think everyone that listened walked out at least a little bit smarter in the topics. Um just I had a really good time. So thank everyone for joining. We have 2 minutes. Y'all wanna plug how anyone can find you?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, I mean,
Link.
LinkedIn's the best spot.
All right, LinkedIn across the board. The
I think we're
recording.
all serial posters, right? We all
Yeah.
post every day almost.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh my
For
God.
sure.
All right. The recording's gonna go out to everyone, even people that signed up and couldn't join. So, hopefully we get a ton of people just reaching out and connecting with everyone and being in for a good time. So y'all have a wonderful day. It's almost Friday. We almost get to call. We almost get to call it a week. Although I'm pretty sure none of us actually ever call it a week. But we like to work when no
Agreed.
one's sending us emails. So y'all have a
Yeah.
wonderful have a
Facts.
wonderful day,
Facts.
wonderful
You too, brother.
weekend, and
Appreciate you, man.
be in touch. Thanks for joining.
Thanks.
Thanks for having us,
Thanks,
man.
guys.
Appreciate
Bye.
you, bro. Bye, guys.
Cheers. Bye.